The alarm bells rang across Earth's orbital station like thunder in space. Commander Hyunwoo stood at the main window watching the stars. His gray hair showed his 50 years of military service. Deep scars crossed his face from the Mars Wars 10 years ago. He had seen many battles, but today felt different. "Sir, we have an unknown ship coming toward us," said Captain Tae-jin from behind him. The young man was only 30, but he commanded Earth's best warship. His black uniform was clean and perfect, unlike Hyunwoo's worn jacket. "How big?" Hyunwoo asked without turning around. "Very big, sir. Bigger than anything we have ever seen." Hyunwoo finally turned. The control room was full of people working at computers. Red lights flashed everywhere. Everyone looked scared. Humans had been alone in space for 200 years. They had never met aliens before. "Is it a threat?" Hyunwoo asked. "We don't know, sir. It's not attacking. It's just waiting." Dr. Sora walked into the room. She was Earth's best scientist who studied life forms. Her long black hair was tied back and she carried a tablet computer. "Commander, I'm reading the ship's signals. They're trying to talk to us." "Aliens," whispered someone in the room. "Quiet," Hyunwoo said firmly. He looked at Sora. "Can you understand them?" "Give me time. Their language is very different, but they're using math and pictures. Smart approach." Sora worked on her tablet, her fingers moving fast. "They're asking for permission to come aboard." The room went silent. Every person stopped working and looked at Hyunwoo. First contact with aliens. This moment would change everything. "Sir," Tae-jin said quietly, "our weapons are ready." "Good. But keep them hidden." Hyunwoo thought for a moment. "Tell them yes. One small ship. One alien. We meet in the main bay." 2 hours later, Hyunwoo stood in the docking bay with 20 soldiers. They held their weapons down but ready. The alien ship was beautiful, made of what looked like crystal and light. It was small, about the size of a human shuttle. The ship opened with no sound. A being walked out that made everyone gasp. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, and looked like living crystal. Light moved through its body like water. It had no face that humans could see, but somehow they knew it was looking at them. "I am Veltar of the Galactic Council," the being said. Its voice came from everywhere at once, musical and strange. "I speak for 1,000 worlds." Hyunwoo stepped forward. "I am Commander Hyunwoo of Earth. I speak for humanity." "Humanity," Veltar repeated. "The Deathworlders, what did you call us?" "Your planet is what we call a death world. Hot, violent, dangerous. Most life cannot survive there. Yet you not only live, you grow strong." Hyunwoo frowned. Earth seemed normal to him. "Why are you here?" Veltar's crystal body grew dim. "We need your help. The galaxy is dying." They moved to a meeting room. Veltar showed them pictures in the air. Beautiful worlds with strange cities. Aliens of many types living together in peace. Then the pictures changed. Dark clouds swallowed the worlds. Everything died. "The Void Swarm," Veltar explained. "They came from the deep galaxy 50 years ago. They eat energy, all energy. Stars, planets, life itself. They have destroyed half of our worlds." Sora leaned forward. "What are they exactly?" "We don't know. They appear as dark clouds, but they are alive somehow. They cannot be reasoned with. They only consume." "What does this have to do with us?" Hyunwoo asked. "Every species in the Council has tried to fight them. We have great technology, powerful ships, energy weapons beyond your dreams. Nothing works. The swarm just eats our weapons and grows stronger." Veltar turned to look directly at Hyunwoo. "But you are different. Deathworlders think differently. Where we see impossible problems, you see challenges. Where we see death, you see something to fight. You want us to fight these things?" "Yes. In return, we offer full membership in the Galactic Council. All our technology. All our knowledge. Your people will have homes on 1,000 worlds." Tae-jin spoke up. "What makes you think we can win where you failed?" "Because you choose to live on a world that tries to kill you every day. Your oceans are poison to most life. Your weather destroys cities. Your animals hunt in packs and kill for sport. Yet you not only survive, you thrive." Sora was studying the pictures. "Where is this swarm now?" "Moving toward your part of the galaxy. Earth is directly in their path. You have perhaps 5 years before they arrive here." The room went quiet. Hyunwoo felt ice in his stomach. Earth was going to be attacked whether they helped or not. "Other species are leaving," Veltar continued, "moving to distant galaxies where the swarm cannot follow. We hoped you might buy us time while we escape." "You want us to die for you?" Hyunwoo said coldly. I will not lie to a Deathworlder. Yes, we expect you to die. But perhaps you will damage them first. Perhaps slow them down. Hyunwoo stood up and walked to the window. He could see Earth below, blue and white and beautiful. His home. The home of 8 billion humans. All the history, all the art, all the love that had ever existed. The swarm would eat it all. Commander? Taejin asked quietly. Hyunwoo turned back to Veltar. You're right about one thing. We don't run from fights. But you're wrong about something else. What is that? You expect us to die. We expect to win. Veltar's crystal body flickered with surprise. Win? Against the Void Swarm? That is impossible. We're Deathworlders, Hyunwoo said with a hard smile. Impossible is what we do best. Sora smiled too. When do we start? The Council will provide ships, weapons, supplies. Everything you need. Good, Hyunwoo said. But we fight our way. No Council oversight. No alien commanders telling us what to do. Agreed. And when we win, not if when, humanity gets everything you promised. Plus reparations for our losses. If you somehow succeed, yes. Hyunwoo held out his hand. Veltar looked at it confused. It's how humans make agreements, Sora explained. Veltar touched Hyunwoo's hand with one crystal finger. It was warm. Welcome to the war, Deathworlders, Veltar said. Welcome to humanity, Hyunwoo replied. 3 months after first contact, Earth had become a war machine. Every factory, every shipyard, every military base worked day and night. The sound of construction never stopped. Humans were preparing for war, and the galaxy was about to learn what that really meant. Engineer Jinye stood in the main construction bay, watching robots build humanity's new weapon. She was 45 years old and had designed Earth's best spaceships. Now she was building something the aliens had never seen, a pure kinetic weapon that could crack planets. The mass driver is ready for testing, she told Commander Hyunwoo over her radio. We can launch a 1,000-ton steel rod at 10% of light speed. What will that do? Hyunwoo asked. It will make a very big hole in whatever it hits. Nearby, tactician Woo Jin studied holographic displays showing the Void Swarm's movement patterns. He was young, only 28, but his mind worked like a computer. He could see patterns where others saw chaos. The swarm moves in waves, he explained to a group of military officers. They send scout groups first, then main forces, then cleanup units. But they have a weakness. Like what weakness? Asked Captain Taejin. They always attack the strongest energy sources first. Power plants, weapon systems, shield generators. They ignore weak signals. So we make ourselves look weak? No. We make them choose between many strong targets. Spread them out. Divide and destroy. Sergeant Hana led her Marine unit through combat training in the lower decks. She was 32 and had fought in every Earth conflict for 10 years. Her soldiers loved her because she never sent them anywhere she wouldn't go herself. Listen up, she told her troops. Aliens fight wars with energy weapons and shields. They stand far apart and shoot light beams at each other until someone's shield fails. The Marines laughed. That sounded boring. We don't fight like that. We get close. We use kinetic weapons, bullets, explosives, blades, things that work even when the power fails. What if their armor is too strong? Asked a young Marine. Then we hit harder. Bigger bullets, bigger bombs, more explosives. Hana smiled grimly. Humans are very good at making things explode. The first test came sooner than expected. A Void Swarm scout group attacked Kepler Station, a mining outpost on the galaxy's edge. The station sent out a distress call and humanity responded. Captain Taejin commanded the attack force from his ship, the Iron Will. It was humanity's newest warship, built with both human and alien technology, but it looked nothing like the graceful alien vessels. It was dark gray, covered in armor and bristled with weapons. Contact in 30 minutes, his navigation officer reported. All ships, battle stations, Taejin ordered. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're showing the galaxy what humans can do. The Void Swarm scout group consisted of 50 entities. They looked like dark clouds in space, each one the size of a small moon. They moved toward Kepler Station like hungry animals, absorbing all the energy they touched. Alien council ships are keeping their distance, reported his tactical officer. They're just watching. Good, let them watch. Taejin opened communications to his fleet. All ships begin attack pattern Woojin Alpha. The human ships spread out in a wide formation. Instead of staying together like alien fleets, they scattered like a pack of wolves. Each ship had different weapons, different armor, different tactics. Mass driver online. Jin'e reported from the engineering ship Hammer. Targeting lead entity. Fire when ready. The mass driver launched its projectile, a tungsten rod moving at incredible speed. It hit the void entity and passed right through it, tearing a massive hole in the dark cloud. The entity writhed and screamed across all radio frequencies. "It's working!" someone shouted, but the entity didn't die. Instead, it began absorbing energy faster, growing larger, trying to heal itself. Nuclear missiles fire pattern, Taejin ordered. 20 ships launched missiles simultaneously. But these weren't normal nuclear weapons. Human engineers had modified them with alien technology. When they exploded, they didn't just release energy. They released specific frequencies that disrupted the swarm entity's cohesion. The explosions lit up space like new stars. When the light faded, 5 entities were gone, torn apart by forces they couldn't absorb. "Impossible," came a transmission from the alien observers. "How did you destroy them?" "We didn't try to out-energy them," Taejin replied. "We used physics." The battle continued for 6 hours. Human ships darted in and out of the swarm, never staying in one place. They used hit-and-run tactics, explosive devices, kinetic weapons, and pure aggression. Sergeant Hana led boarding parties onto damaged entities. Her Marines wore heavy armor and carried weapons designed for close combat. They planted explosives inside the dark clouds, fighting creatures made of living shadow. "These things are part machine, part energy being," she reported while setting charges. "But they bleed when you cut them." "Everything bleeds," replied one of her Marines. When the battle ended, 38 void entities were destroyed. 12 escaped badly damaged, but humanity had paid a price. 25 ships destroyed, over 3,000 casualties. The alien observers couldn't believe what they had seen. Council species typically had casualty rates below 5%. Losing 60% of your force was considered a disaster. "You lost more than half your ships," Veltar said to Hyunwoo later. "Yet you celebrate?" "We killed more than we lost," Hyunwoo replied. "That's victory, but your people, they fought knowing they would die. Some of them volunteered for the most dangerous missions. Marines asked to board the entities. Pilots asked to ram their ships into the enemy. That is insane." Sora, who had been studying the battle data, looked up from her computer. "No, it's human. We've been fighting death since we climbed down from the trees. We know that sometimes the only way to win is to be willing to lose everything. The swarm will send larger forces next time," Veltar warned. "Good," said Hyunwoo. "We're just getting started." Word of the victory spread across the galaxy faster than light. For the first time in 50 years, someone had defeated the Void Swarm in open combat. But the victory came with a cost that terrified other species. On distant worlds, alien leaders watched the battle recordings. They saw human ships ramming into entities 5 times their size. They saw Marines fighting inside clouds of living darkness. They saw pilots laughing as they flew suicide missions. "The Deathworlders are insane," one alien leader said. "Yes," replied another, "but they're our insane allies now." Back on Earth, construction continued. More ships, more weapons, more soldiers. Humanity was mobilizing for total war, and they were just beginning to show the galaxy what that meant. Jin'e was already designing bigger mass drivers. Woojin was planning attacks on main swarm fleets. Hana was training more Marines for boarding actions. And in space, the Void Swarm felt something they had never felt before in 50 years of conquest: uncertainty. The Deathworlders had drawn first blood, and they showed no signs of stopping. Dr. Sora stared at the data on her screen and felt her world change. 6 months of studying Void Swarm remains had led to this moment. The terrible truth that would reshape everything humans thought they knew about their enemy. "Commander, you need to see this," she said into her communicator. Hyunwoo arrived at her lab 20 minutes later, along with physicist Dong-hyun and intelligence officer Mi-young. Sora's laboratory was filled with alien technology and swarm samples, dark crystalline fragments that still pulsed with strange energy. "What did you find?" Hyunwoo asked. Sora pointed to a holographic display showing the internal structure of a swarm entity. "Look at this. The swarm isn't just eating energy randomly. They're storing it in specific patterns." "Storage for what?" Mi-young asked. She was a small woman with sharp eyes who had spent years studying enemy tactics. "For travel. Long-distance travel." Sora changed the display. "These energy reserves could power faster than light movement for thousands of years." Dong-hyun leaned closer. He was a tall, thin man who understood quantum physics better than anyone on Earth. They're not just destroying civilizations. They're preparing for a journey. Journey to where? Hyunwoo asked. That's what I found. Sora's voice was quiet. I traced their movement patterns back 50 years. The swarm didn't start at the galaxy's edge. They started at the center. She showed them a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked destroyed worlds, creating a clear pattern moving outward from the galactic core. They're not conquering, Mi-young said, understanding immediately. They're running. Running from what? Sora changed the display again. This time it showed deep space telescope images of the galactic core. Where there should have been billions of stars, there was only darkness. Not the darkness of space, but something worse. An emptiness that seemed to eat light itself. We call it the silent hunger, Dong-hyun said. It's not destroying matter by consuming it. It's making matter cease to exist. Completely. Stars, planets, space itself, all becoming nothing. Hyunwoo studied the images. How big is it? 20,000 light-years across and growing. At current expansion rate, it will reach the outer galaxy in 200 years. So the swarm is fleeing this thing, consuming energy to power their escape. Yes, and they don't care what they destroy in the process. Sora pulled up more data, but here's the important part. I found evidence that some swarm entities are trying to communicate. She played an audio recording, strange sounds, almost musical. What is that? I think it's a distress call. Not all swarm entities are the same. Some are refugees. Some are predators taking advantage of the chaos. Some are just scared. Mi-young was already thinking tactically. If we can communicate with the refugee entities, we might be able to redirect the swarm away from populated worlds. Hyunwoo finished. But there's another problem, Dong-hyun said grimly. The Council's evacuation plan won't work. The silent hunger isn't limited to this galaxy. It's a universe-wide phenomenon. How do you know? Deep space observations. We can see the same effect in distant galaxies. Dark zones expanding outward. This isn't something we can run from. Scout pilot Jae-ho had volunteered for the most dangerous mission in human history. He would take a small, fast ship deep into swarm territory to gather more intelligence. He was 26 years old and had never been afraid of anything in his life. His ship, the Ghost Runner, was built for stealth and speed. It used alien cloaking technology combined with human engineering. The aliens had never built anything like it because they considered it too dangerous. Entering swarm territory now, Jae-ho reported as his ship crossed into the dark zone where 20 star systems had been consumed. What he saw there would haunt him forever. Massive swarm entities the size of planets moved through space in organized formations. Some were clearly military, aggressive, predatory, hunting for new energy sources. But others moved differently. They protected smaller entities. They shared energy instead of hoarding it. Command, I'm seeing different types of swarm behavior. Some are protecting others. Like families, can you get closer? Sora asked from her lab. I can try. Jae-ho piloted his ship toward a group of smaller entities. As he approached, they began making the same musical sounds Sora had recorded. But now, hearing them in space, they sounded even more like distress calls. They're trying to talk, he whispered. Suddenly, larger entities surrounded his ship. These were the predatory ones, dark and aggressive. But before they could attack, the smaller entities moved between them and Jae-ho's ship. They were protecting him. Incredible. The refugees are defending me from the predators. Get out of there, Hyunwoo ordered. But Jae-ho had an idea. He began broadcasting the mathematical sequences that humans used for first contact. Prime numbers, basic equations, universal constants. The refugee entities responded immediately. They sent back the same sequences, then began transmitting new information, images, star maps, and something else. Warnings. Command. They're showing me the silent hunger's expansion pattern. It's moving faster than we thought. And they're warning me about something else. What? The predatory swarm entities aren't refugees. They're something else. Something that feeds on the chaos the silent hunger creates. The revelation changed everything. The void swarm wasn't a single enemy. It was multiple species mixed together. Refugees fleeing the silent hunger, predators taking advantage of the disaster, and possibly others. Back at Earth, emergency meetings began immediately. Hyunwoo called together all the human leaders plus Veltar and other council representatives. We need to rethink our entire strategy, he told them. We're not fighting an invasion. We're dealing with a refugee crisis that's been hijacked by predators. What do you propose? Veltar asked. We separate the refugees from the predators. Help the refugees find new homes. Destroy the predators. And figure out how to stop the silent hunger. Stop it. That's impossible. It's a fundamental force of the universe. Maybe, but we're human. Remember what I told you about impossible things? Sora had been working on translation protocols. I think I can communicate with the refugee entities. They use mathematical concepts we recognize. With time, we might establish real dialogue. How much time? Hyunwoo asked. Weeks, maybe months. We don't have months. The main swarm fleet will be here soon. Mi-young spread tactical displays across the table. Then we implement Woojin's plan. Force the swarm to split up. Use communication to identify refugees and redirect them to safe zones. Fight only the predators and the silent hunger? Donghyun spoke up. I have an idea about that. But it's theoretical and extremely dangerous. Tell us. If the silent hunger removes matter from existence, maybe we can create something it can't remove. A reality anchor. Something so fundamentally connected to space-time that destroying it would damage the universe itself. Can it be done? Maybe with enough energy? Enough mass, and a willingness to sacrifice everything. The room went quiet. Everyone understood what he meant. We're talking about turning Earth into a weapon, Hyunwoo said slowly. A shield, Donghyun corrected. A permanent barrier against the silent hunger. At the cost of our homeworld. At the cost of our homeworld. Hyunwoo looked around the room. At Sora, who might be able to save the refugee entities. At Mi-young planning battles against impossible odds. At Veltar representing 1,000 worlds that had given up hope. We'll need volunteers, he said finally. Sir? Taejin asked. For the Reality Anchor project, someone will need to stay behind and operate it. They won't be able to leave. The entire human population volunteers, Taejin said immediately. You don't understand. This isn't about dying in battle. This is about living forever as part of a machine. We understand, Sora said quietly. And we volunteer anyway. Veltar's crystal body flickered with amazement. Your species continues to surprise me. We're not done surprising you yet, Hyunwoo replied. The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. 200 human ships faced off against a void swarm fleet of 5,000 entities. But this time, humanity had a plan that had never been tried before. Commander Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the Iron Will, watching the enemy approach. Beside him, diplomat Kyung-soo prepared for the most important conversation in human history. The young man had learned to speak with the swarm refugees in just 3 weeks, a feat that impressed even the aliens. Are you ready? Hyunwoo asked. As ready as anyone can be to talk to living energy clouds, Kyung-soo replied. He wore a special helmet that could translate his thoughts into the mathematical language the refugees understood. Naval Commander Yoon-ji coordinated the fleet from her flagship. She was 50 years old and had commanded ships longer than most people had been alive. Her gray hair was pulled back tight, and her uniform was perfectly pressed despite the chaos around her. All ships report ready, she announced. Refugee separation protocol is active. Deep in Earth's crust, engineer Sang-min worked on humanity's most desperate project. The reality anchor was almost complete, a massive device that would fuse Earth's core with space-time itself. He was thin and pale from months of working underground, but his eyes burned with determination. Power levels at 90%, he reported to the surface. We need 6 more hours to reach full activation. You have 2 hours, Hyunwoo replied. Maybe less. The swarm fleet entered weapons range. Immediately, Kyung-soo began broadcasting on all frequencies. Refugee entities, this is humanity. We know you are fleeing the silent hunger. We want to help. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the massive fleet began to change. Some entities, the smaller, more organized ones, started moving away from the aggressive predators. Musical sounds filled the radio spectrum as refugees tried to communicate. It's working, Kyung-soo said excitedly. They're responding. They want to know if we can really help them. Tell them yes, but they need to separate from the predators completely. The swarm fleet split apart like oil separating from water. Roughly half the entities moved to defensive positions, clearly identifying themselves as refugees. The other half, the predators, moved into attack formation. Refugee entities are clear, Yoon-ji reported, engaging predator forces now. The battle began with humanity's new strategy. Instead of fighting the entire swarm at once, they focused on the predators while protecting the refugees. It was the most complex military operation humans had ever attempted. Mass drivers target predator clusters only, Yunji ordered. Do not fire on any entity broadcasting refugee signals. Jinny's planet cracker weapons launched tungsten rods at near light speed, but now they had guidance systems that could identify friend from foe among the swarm entities. The rods tore through predator formations while leaving refugee groups untouched. Captain Tae-jin led a squadron of fast ships in hit-and-run attacks. His pilots were the best humanity had trained, and they flew like demons through the chaotic battlefield. Predator Group Delta is trying to attack the refugees, he reported. Moving to intercept. Negative, Yunji replied. Let the refugees handle it. Everyone watched in amazement as the refugee entities defended themselves. They had been running from the predators for 50 years, but now they had allies. Groups of refugees surrounded isolated predators and somehow drained their energy, rendering them powerless. The refugees are helping us fight, Kyung-soo said in wonder. They know which entities are predators and which are just lost. But the battle was far from over. The predator entities were larger and more aggressive than anything humans had faced before. They adapted quickly to human tactics, learning to absorb kinetic energy and redirect it as weapons. They're learning, Woo Jin reported from his tactical station, adapting to our mass drivers. Then we adapt faster, Hyun-woo replied. All ships switched to pattern Sangmin Gamma. This was humanity's backup plan. Instead of kinetic weapons, they used controlled nuclear explosions to create gravity waves, ripples in space-time that the predators couldn't absorb or redirect. The gravity bombs detonated in perfect sequence, creating interference patterns that tore the largest predator entities apart. It was like using the universe itself as a weapon. Incredible, came a transmission from Veltar, who was observing from a safe distance. You're weaponizing physics. We're good at making things work for us, Hyun-woo replied. Meanwhile, on Earth, Sang-min faced a crisis. The reality anchor was drawing so much power that it was affecting the planet's magnetic field. Earthquakes shook every continent as the device prepared to merge Earth with spacetime. Sir, the power draw is destabilizing the planet, he reported. If we continue, Earth might break apart before the anchor activates. Can you compensate? Maybe, but I'll need to manually adjust the core interface. Someone needs to go into the fusion chamber. How dangerous is that? Lethal. Immediately and permanently lethal. Sang-min's team of engineers looked at each other. Then, without speaking, they all raised their hands. We volunteer, said his assistant, a young woman named Yu-jin. All of us, added another engineer. No, Sang-min said firmly. This is my design, my responsibility. Above ground, the space battle reached its climax. The predator entities, realizing they were losing, began a desperate attack on Earth itself. They dove toward the planet, planning to consume its energy and leave the galaxy as a lifeless waste. All ships protect Earth, Yunji ordered. Do not let any predator entity reach the surface. The refugee entities surprised everyone by joining the defense. They formed a living barrier around Earth, absorbing attacks meant for the planet. Many refugee entities died protecting the human homeworld. Why are they doing this? Tae-jin asked as he watched refugee entities sacrifice themselves. Because we believed in them, Kyung-soo replied. We treated them as people, not monsters. The final phase of the battle was the most dangerous. The largest predator entity, something the size of Earth's moon, broke through the defensive lines and began descending toward the planet. Its energy fields were so powerful that they disrupted all electronics within 1,000 kilometers. I can't stop it, Yunji reported. It's too big. Then we use the anchor, Hyun-woo decided. Sang-min, activate the reality anchor now. Sir, we're not at full power. The anchor might not hold. Do it anyway. Deep underground, Sang-min entered the fusion chamber. The temperature was over 1,000 degrees and radiation levels would kill him in seconds. But he had modified his environmental suit to last just long enough. Reality anchor activating, he reported, his voice already weak from radiation poisoning. Earth core fusing with space-time matrix in 10 seconds. Sang-min, get out of there, Hyun-woo ordered. Can't. Someone needs to monitor the fusion manually. If it fails, the silent hunger wins. You'll die, I know. Sang-min's voice was calm. Tell my family I saved the galaxy. The reality anchor activated with a pulse of energy that lit up the entire solar system. Earth's core became something more than matter. It became a permanent part of the universe's structure. The descending predator entity hit the anchor field and simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not absorbed, just gone. The remaining predator entities fled immediately, sensing something that could unmake them completely. The refugee entities began broadcasting gratitude on all frequencies, mathematical poems of joy that brought tears to human eyes. Battle complete, Yunji reported. Predator forces are retreating. Refugee entities are requesting permission to settle in the outer system. Granted, Hyunwoo said. They've earned it. The reality anchor held. Earth still existed, but it was changed forever. The planet glowed with strange energy, and gravity worked differently near the surface. Most importantly, it created a barrier that the silent hunger could not cross. The anchor is stable, reported the surface teams. Earth is now a permanent fixture in space-time. The silent hunger cannot affect this region of space. What about Sang-min? Someone asked. He's gone, came the quiet reply. But the anchor is working perfectly. His sacrifice saved everything. Across the galaxy, the news spread like wildfire. Humanity had not only defeated the Void Swarm predators, but it also created a safe zone where the silent hunger could not reach. Refugee species from across the galaxy began planning journeys to the Sol system. You have done something impossible, Veltar told Hyunwoo later. You turned your homeworld into a sanctuary for the entire galaxy. We're not done yet, Hyunwoo replied, looking at Earth's new glow. We still need to help the refugees rebuild and find a way to stop the silent hunger permanently. Can that be done? We're human. Give us time and we'll figure it out. The silent hunger had reached the outer edge of the galaxy. Ancient beyond measure, it consumed everything in its path. Stars, planets, space itself. Nothing had ever stopped it. Until now. Subin stood in the reality anchor's control chamber deep beneath Earth's surface. She was 28 years old and had volunteered for the most important job in galactic history. The chamber glowed with impossible colors as Earth's core pulsed with energies that held reality together. Final phase begins in 1 hour, she announced to the surface. All non-essential personnel must evacuate Earth immediately. Above ground, Fleet Admiral Chang Woo coordinated the largest evacuation in human history. Thousands of ships loaded with people, animals, plants, and cultural artifacts prepared to leave Earth forever. His weathered face showed the strain of watching humanity abandon their homeworld. Final transport ships are loading now, he reported. We can save 90% of Earth's population. What about the other 10%? Asked Dr. Yan Su from her position on the last science vessel. Volunteers, Chang Woo replied quietly. They're staying to help operate the anchor. The reality anchor had grown far beyond Sang-min's original design. Now it covered the entire planet, drawing power from Earth's core, oceans, and even the life force of every living thing on the surface. To operate it at full power, people needed to stay behind and become part of the system. Subin was the primary interface. Special neural implants connected her mind directly to the anchor's controls. She could feel the planet's pulse, sense the approach of the silent hunger, and control forces that could reshape reality itself. Contact in 30 minutes, she announced. The silent hunger has reached the Sol system's edge. Through the anchor's sensors, she could see it approaching. Not darkness, but the absence of existence itself. Stars simply stopped being as it passed. Planets became nothing. Even space-time was erased, leaving true emptiness behind. It's beautiful in a terrible way, Subin said softly, like watching the universe forget how to exist. The first contact between the silent hunger and Earth's reality anchor sent shockwaves across the galaxy. When the wave of nothingness hit Earth's defensive field, it simply stopped. For the first time in cosmic history, the silent hunger could not advance. It's working, Chang Woo reported from his evacuation ship. The anchor is holding, but the effort was enormous. Subin felt the strain immediately as every system on Earth redirected power to maintain the barrier. Cities went dark. Oceans began to freeze, and the planet's magnetic field fluctuated wildly. I need more power, Subin said through gritted teeth. The hunger is adapting, trying to find weaknesses. Around the solar system, refugee swarm entities that had settled there began moving toward Earth. They formed a living ring around the planet and began channeling their own energy into the anchor system. The refugees are helping, Dr. Yan Su observed from her ship. They're feeding their life force into our barrier. Across the galaxy, something unprecedented happened. Every species that had received humanity's warning began contributing to Earth's defense. Alien ships arrived carrying power cells, exotic matter, and volunteers willing to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. "This is Admiral Veltar of the Galactic Council," came a transmission. "All member species are redirecting power to the Sol system. We stand with humanity." The reality anchor became more than a human creation. It became a galactic effort, powered by the combined will of 1,000 species determined to stop running from the silent hunger. Subin felt her consciousness expanding as the anchor drew more power. She was no longer just human. She was connected to every mind contributing to the barrier. Alien thoughts mixed with human determination, creating something entirely new. "I can see it clearly now," she said, her voice echoing with new harmonics. "The silent hunger isn't malevolent. It's a natural process like entropy. The universe occasionally forgets how to maintain existence." "Can it be stopped permanently?" Changwu asked. "Not stopped, but redirected, controlled." Subin's consciousness touched the edge of the hunger itself, feeling its vast, mindless purpose. It needs to consume something. If we can feed it controlled amounts of matter and energy, we can prevent it from spreading. What kind of matter? Dead matter. Empty space. Things that no longer serve a purpose. Subin began implementing her plan through the anchor. "We can create feeding stations, controlled zones where the hunger can consume without destroying populated areas." The process required a level of coordination that had never been attempted. Reality anchor stations had to be built throughout the galaxy, each one operated by volunteers who would become permanent guardians. It was a massive undertaking that would take centuries to complete. "I volunteer to oversee the project," Subin announced. "But I can never leave Earth. The anchor requires a permanent interface." "You'll be alone for thousands of years," Changwu said sadly. "No, I'll be connected to every anchor station in the galaxy, to every guardian who volunteers. I'll never be alone." Dr. Yansu made her own choice. As the last transport ship prepared to leave Earth, she stepped off. "Someone needs to stay and help Subin," she announced. "Someone needs to carry on humanity's scientific legacy on Earth." "Yansu, no," Changwu protested. "You have a daughter waiting for you. And because of what we're doing here, she'll have a galaxy to grow up in." Yansu smiled sadly. "Tell her that her mother helped save everything. Across Earth, 10 million humans made the same choice. Scientists, engineers, artists, teachers, people who wanted to ensure that humanity's greatest achievement would never fail. They would live forever as part of the anchor system, their minds linked together in a network that spanned the galaxy. The transformation was gradual but irreversible. Earth's continents reshaped themselves into massive geometric patterns that channeled and focused reality-stabilizing energy. The oceans became conductors for power drawn from the planet's core. Even the atmosphere changed, becoming a medium that could carry thoughts and consciousness across vast distances. "Earth is no longer a planet," Subin observed as the changes completed. "It's a machine, a living machine operated by human will." The silent hunger, sensing the new stability, began to retreat, not defeated, but redirected toward the feeding stations that were already under construction. For the first time in cosmic history, the universe's tendency toward entropy was being actively managed. "We did it," Changwu said from his ship, now thousands of kilometers from Earth. "We actually did it." But the victory came with profound sadness. Earth glowed with unnatural light, its surface no longer capable of supporting normal life. The 10 million humans who had stayed behind were no longer entirely human. They had become something new, something necessary. "Don't mourn for us." Subin's voice reached every ship in the fleet. "We chose this. And we're not gone, we're just expanded." 1,000 years later, the galaxy had become a different place. Reality anchor stations stood guard at strategic points throughout space, each one operated by volunteers from different species. The silent hunger still existed, but it fed only on dead matter in carefully controlled zones. Earth remained the primary anchor, its surface covered in crystalline structures that pulsed with life and consciousness. Subin was still there. Her consciousness expanded beyond anything recognizable as human, but still recognizably herself. The descendants of humanity lived on thousands of worlds throughout the galaxy. They had kept their nature as Deathworlders, but had learned to use their aggression to protect rather than conquer. Human colonies served as the galaxy's guardians, always ready to fight when diplomacy failed. In the deep archives of Earth's transformed surface, stored in crystalline memory banks that would last forever, was humanity's final message to the universe. We were called Deathworlders because we lived with death every day. We learned that the only way to defeat death is to choose something more important than survival. We chose to protect life itself, even at the cost of our own world. This is humanity's offering to the galaxy, not conquest, but guardianship. Not destruction, but protection. We gave up our homeworld so that every other species could have a future. Remember us not as the humans who died, but as the humans who chose to live forever as protectors. The reality anchors will hold. The galaxy is safe. That is our gift to eternity. Dr. Yonsu, now something between human and living energy, added her own words to the record. We were never meant to be conquerors. We were meant to be guardians. The galaxy needed someone crazy enough to sacrifice everything for strangers. It needed Deathworlders. Our children live among the stars now, and they carry our true legacy. The knowledge that some things are worth more than survival. Some things are worth becoming something greater than yourself to protect. The silent hunger is contained. The galaxy lives. That is enough. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, human descendants looked up at the stars and remembered Earth, not as the world they had lost, but as the sacrifice that had saved everything. They carried forward the Deathworlder spirit, but tempered with wisdom learned from loss. They were still human. They were still willing to fight impossible battles. But now they fought not for conquest, but for the simple radical idea that every species deserved a chance to exist. In the end, that was humanity's greatest victory.